One of the biggest talking points of Breath of the Wild and its highly anticipated sequel for fans and theorists alike is the Zonai. An ancient tribe that possessed extremely powerful magical abilities unknown to the modern day person. All that is left of this mysterious civilization are ruins and structures left long ago from their time in Hyrule. Nobody knows where they went, when exactly they were here, and what their purpose was. We know very little about this tribe, but yet, they are such a fascinating topic to everyone, and due to some Zonai looking structures and carvings found in the reveal trailer for Breath of the Wild 2, many fans are under the impression that we are going to have a larger focus on the Zonai than before, and maybe even encounter the Zonai. However, I believe that there will be no Zonai whatsoever in the sequel. There will be no-nai, if you like. And I don't mean this in the sense of I don't want to see the Zonai, but I believe due to the insane hype and interest created around them that some false expectations have developed, and I just want to share my take on all of this as you know, there isn't enough Zonai content out there, right? Anyway, be sure to go and grab yourself a snack or drink and send them in on social media to get featured right here, and let's discuss why I believe there will be no Zonai found in Breath of the Wild 2. So, who were the Zonai? Well, despite them being a hugely popular topic amongst the Zelda community, there are of course some of us who might just not be aware, so I will briefly go over the Zonai for those who may not know. The Zonai were, as previously mentioned, an ancient tribe that once inhabited Hyrule, predominantly in their home of the Faron region. We can see their work in the form of Zonai ruins, which are a common sight in the Faron woods, but also all over Hyrule, notably Typhlo ruins. We don't really know much about them, other than that they seemingly just vanished at some point in time, never to be seen again. The creations they left, such as the labyrinths, Typhlo ruins, and their home ruins by the Spring of Courage, are all we get to see of them in-game. We know that they worshipped some sort of, quote, water dragon, which is evident by all of the dragon structures, both small and the big one at the Spring of Courage. Even the layer of their ruins somewhat represent a dragon, as you follow a spiraling river to reach the mouth of the dragon, a possible representation of the body of this beast leading to its head. It is also said in creating a champion, as we were in the process of creating the cities and people of every region of Hyrule, we thought that if we showed fragments of a civilization that collapsed long ago, it would make the world feel more real. That's why we added Zonai relics throughout Hyrule. The ruins are primarily animal themed, but with the history of the Triforce from an ancient perspective in mind. The designs are symbolic, using dragons, courage, owls, wisdom, and boars, power. So hey, at least Nintendo acknowledged them as an actual thing, unlike some things. But for the most part, this is all we know about the Zonai. Yup, very little. So why is there such a fascination with them? Well, honestly, it's the mystery to them. They clearly played some sort of significant role at one point of Hyrule's history, and we are told that they had magical abilities. That alone is pretty interesting, but within the many theories, discussions, and speculation, a sort of false expectation has come to some. I've noticed that whenever the topic of Zonai comes up, there tends to be this feeling of expecting to see them in the sequel, and as awesome as that would be, I just don't see it happening. And now that I've recapped what we know about them, allow me to explain why. Okay, so this reason could be viewed as a Nintendo thing or Zelda thing, but not a bad thing by any means, as it ultimately adds more content to the game. So a common theme in Zelda games during development is implementing little things that will initially have no purpose, story, or explanation. It's a brilliant way to fill in blank areas of the game with something that is really interesting, but also unknown and doesn't have much depth to it. Sometimes you'll discover a little bit of information and be left there. For example, in Twilight Princess, we learn the tale of the evil interlopers who tried to take hold of the Triforce long ago, which resulted in their banishment to the Twilight Realm. They play no real role in the actual story of the game, but that's all we learn about them. We don't learn where the interlopers are from, if they work with or for anyone, what their true intent with the Triforce was, and just anything about them. But Nintendo does this on purpose in their games. The game itself has a main story and multiple side quests to fulfill the player's wants, but they just add in these stories and mysteries, if you will, but never fill them in. It doubles as a way for us to come up with our own stories through our personal interpretation, and that is exactly what the Zonai are. I mean, for example, the labyrinths were probably planned to be part of the game regardless, but to make things interesting, they made them Zonai structures. They gave them a tie-in to something. This gives them their backstory, but a backstory we don't actually know. It's a bad way to put it, but essentially a filler story to make things more interesting. This is nothing new to Zelda games though, and just to clarify, I am not saying that this is a bad thing. Like I also said, it creates an open book for us players to write based on what we see and interpret, which is so awesome. But sadly, these books are usually never filled by the developers. Like the interlopers, which were introduced in 2006 when Twilight Princess was released, we learned nothing of them since, and likely never will. And this is the same for so many other mysteries in the Zelda series. Take Majora's Mask's aliens for example, or Skyward Sword's surface dwellers prior to the events of the game. These are things we know of, but will likely never learn more about. These stories aren't like reoccurring parts of the lore, such as the Triforce, something that comes back again and again and we constantly learn more about. They are still important parts of lore, but ones with no intention of expanding upon. If the Zonai were ever planned to be a significant part of the story and story to come, then we would have a little bit more than no real in-game info and very little out-of-game info. The Zonai were not created with the intent to be something huge, and as much as it breaks my heart to say that, we all have to realize it. Another example of this would be the Zelda timeline itself. The whole reason this thing exists is because of the fans. The games were never created with the intention of a set timeline, and the Zelda team have said this openly in multiple interviews. Gameplay and story first. Then, when the game is finished, they'll locate it somewhere in the timeline. But that timeline itself wasn't even established until 2011, when Hyrule Historia was released. And that version has inconsistencies and was even changed multiple times. You know why? Because it was never planned to be a big deal. And this is also why the timeline isn't one linear path, it has multiple branches. That's because the developers never made these stories with the intent of a timeline, so they had to alter it a little to make them all fit somehow. This was never planned. Obviously the timeline is slightly different, as that acquired mass fan attention, and it kind of made sense to make one, but the Zonai for example, whilst having a large interest, don't generally require much to any expansion upon. The Zelda team purposely leave things like this unanswered because A, it allows us to be creative with our interpretation, and B, there was never any intent for it to be more. The Zonai tribe are an old, ancient tribe from long ago. They collapsed, they are no more. They are not making a physical appearance in the sequel. Yes, there are signs of their work in the trailer, and to me personally, these wall carvings, pillars, and bridge designs are just the same as how we see the ruins in Breath of the Wild 1, the first game. We see ruins all over the land, but we don't see the Zonai. This is a new area in the sequel. It's still in the same time frame. These are ruins from long ago. That does not mean the Zonai are coming back. It just means we're discovering more ruins. They are nothing more than ruins from long ago. Although I do like the theory of the Zonai migrating below the surface, but I honestly can't find much to genuinely support it. The chances of an actual Zonai tribesperson appearing are slim to none if you ask me, and I keep on hearing all of these expectations to see them, and I honestly just can't see it, and the previous points mentioned are why. It just wouldn't make any sense considering Nintendo's reputation with this. The Zonai are Zonai. Now, a lot of this expectation to actually see them has been created due to the sheer popularity of the Zonai, the fan theories, the discussions, and just the obsession, which, trust me, I love and get it 100%, but it does have a counter effect of sometimes turning hopes into expectations. But one of the things that seals the fact that they just aren't going to appear is what was said in creating a champion, which I mentioned earlier. It was said that this is a civilization that collapsed long ago to make the world feel more real. Compare that to real life. Civilizations that fell long ago don't just suddenly appear again. That implies that the Zonai are permanently gone. They collapsed long ago, they're done with. This was purposely done just to make the world feel more real, giving it history. History which stays history. I know it's hard to say, but that's how it is. However, I don't think that there is a 0% chance of no Zonai at all. I do believe that it is very possible that we will learn more about them through information found in the sequel, but actually encountering, interacting, or quote, seeing the Zonai is very unlikely. I do not think that we will see the Zonai, but learning a small amount more about them, it is possible. This is all just my personal opinion and take on this though. Please Nintendo, prove me wrong and make this video age poorly by introducing us to a long lost tribe in the sequel. I would love that and want to make it clear that I do not dislike the Zonai in any way, shape or form. I actually love them. I just think that sometimes we can get carried away, which isn't a bad thing by the way. It just sometimes creates false expectations, and I wanted to give my take on that. Thanks a ton for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed, and if you did, be sure to drop a like and consider subscribing for more Zelda content, as it helps so much to grow the channel and ultimately help us towards our goal of 100k. What did you think of my impressions on the cult favourite Zonai tribe? Will they make an appearance in the sequel, or could what I predicted be the case? Leave a comment below and look out for my replies. A huge, special, heartfelt thank you goes out to all of my supporters on Patreon and YouTube. I can never thank you guys enough for the generous support in allowing me to make these videos. Thank you all so much. And if you'd like to help support my work here and get your name featured at the end of all of my videos and more, then consider supporting via Patreon or YouTube. Again, thanks for watching, and until the next time, I've been Hyrule Gamer.